So when people say, what's the matter with the money system? Nothing's the matter with the money system for the money people. It has a lot to do with the majority of people. So we want to we know now that there's more than enough resources to take care of everybody. And I'm not talking about a monthly stipend so they have just enough to get by. I know a very high standard of living. Why do we do that? Because the higher the standard of living for everybody, the more equipment you got in the house, the better the understanding you have. The higher the earning power, the higher the production rate, the more you can give to people. But when a depression comes, the factories are still there, but it says no help on it. The steel mills still produce steel, but they're not selling it. So if we go to a resource-based economy, there is no need to have trains and freight yards hoping that next month we'll have a lot of orders and the trains will be used. But if it doesn't happen, they just sit there. The same with automobiles and car lots. Unless it's science fiction, it'll say this is imaginative, it is unreal, you can read it if you want to develop intellectual flexibility. Now that means that one science book that I read years ago, there was a guy that worked in a plant and factory, a limited area. And he says, I still don't know what they're making here. So he hid in a closet. And at night he came out and he went through the whole factory. And they were making human beings. This is science fiction. So he walked over to the chief engineer and said, I now know what you're making here and I'm against it. So the chief engineer went through the files. He said, you were made here. They put an end to that. See, they'll be growing human beings outside of the female in the near future, 20 years from now, for sure. No one wants to walk around pregnant. So that will be in the future. But right now, we think, well, will that be natural? Will that be good? By the time they do that, today you give people shots and hope it's going to work. In the future, you cultivate, I mentioned this, I think, cancer tissue in petri dishes. You know what that means?
Sure.
They're glass dishes with artificial circulation. You keep different types of cancer alive. And what you do is treat the cancer, not the person, until you gain control. For example, the study of medicine today tries to study disease. So they give you a shot, what worked on you doesn't work on him. You know, so in the future, medicine will have a different direction. I hope you can remember this, the direction I tell you. What they'll do is work with a living substance, cells, and learn to control the speed of multiplication, slow them up, gain control of living substances, different kinds of antibodies. And if he has resistance to cancer, they'll cultivate your antibodies, lots of them, and give them to people that don't have those antibodies. Then later, they'll design an organism, a little organ in your body, with all types of cells that can quickly adapt to any condition, just like Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, to adjust to any condition. That's where medicine's going, not experimenting, giving the guy a shot and hope he gets well, or do a lot of research in chemistry. Doctors don't even know what the problem is today. Otherwise they protest automobiles going through the streets. Now this place is going to have, I'd say in 20 years, so much respiratory problems, it'd be unbelievable. Most of the people today alive will be dead. But they don't do anything until 4 kids are hit by a car, they put up a traffic light, because they have limited funds. But when the whole world owns all the resources, there's no more nickels and dimes for research. We say to you, what would you like in your lab? You say, well, I like an electron microscope. Can you use 2? Yes, that'd be great. We give them 2, because the stuff out there exists to make all the electron microscopes you want. But the corporation that makes it makes $4,000 on each small electron microscope. But if the public owned the earth and everything on it, there's no more price tags. The question is not how much will a new city cost, do we have the resources? Now, I don't know if you know this, the United States went to war with Germany, Japan, and Spain, mainly in Italy, because they were in the middle of a recession. And it was the war that pulled us out. Every company got contracts for cars, machine guns, bullets, eyeglasses, artificial legs, crutches. You understand? War was big business. It made millionaires of most people. And if we didn't get into World War II, the country would have gone socialist or communist. So I would say that it is conditions that exist that reduces where the public will be. As long as the public's working, has jobs, they don't concern themselves with social conditions. But if you're married and your wife gets a cancer, breast cancer, if she lives, say, 5 years, you'll be broke. You wonder how much money you got. There's no security. So the Army thinks there is security, so they build an Air Force, and they build computerized systems, and they build submarines which cost over $1 billion apiece. But the United States now has sonar all over the world, under the water of all the world's oceans, so we know where every Russian submarine is. We know exactly where they're at. So they think that's good. But if China knows where the hell it's going, it will invest in computer detection systems and jamming systems. Because all military systems today depend on computers. So if you learn to jam them, you can knock out the Navy, the Air Force, aircraft carriers, and you don't have to build 1,000 airplanes a month. Do you understand? But the trouble with nuclear war, it'll be over in 3 days. You don't get a chance to make any money at it. Whereas ordinary war might go on for 10 years. There's a hell of a lot of money in new machine guns, and every year you have to replace stuff. But you don't with cars. You don't pull all the cars in and put sensors on them so they can't hit each other. Nobody gives a shit about you. But in military systems, they do. So do you understand? When I say that nations are inherently corrupt, I mean the nature of the operation. Now, if you got to the South Seas years ago, I don't know about today. They were very corrupt. They had a resource-based economy. But I don't know if I've answered your question. I may not have.
To a degree, but I mean, like, so what you're so.
Children are
what
raised.
So they're basically all children will be raised to basically be scientists.
To understand the earth, right. There is no other profession. Let me say, if you become an auto mechanic, you study the science of power transmission. If you become an electrical, you have to study that. Everything you have in the world today is technical. Your watch is technical. But if a guy is a businessman, he gives you the business. He doesn't do anything for society. If a guy stands behind the counter all day, say he sells watches, what can I do for you, what can I show you? He doesn't do anything. It's the Swiss that make the watch, the Swiss engineers. So everything you have that I know is technical. Your eyeglasses, your false teeth, your jock strap, your shoes are all made part of technology. Now, I don't know what politicians can do. I just don't know what they do. I don't know what a businessman does. I don't know what an investment broker does. If he invests in certain, he studies the stock market and growth curves. And he talks to a lot of people. They say, yes, the new cameras don't have film, and they're going to sell, so invest in it. He doesn't know what to do. He has technical advisors that say, what should I invest in? What computer company? Which one? Apple. Apple keeps at the forefront of technology. But if a new computer comes up with a chip 1/4 the size, 10 times as fast as Apple, Apple can't sell their stuff, their production machinery, because it's designed for certain types of chips. But here's what Apple can do. It can buy your company or buy your patents and not produce it until 3 years from now.